Hello, everybody. My name is Cecile Dean, and today I'm talking to John Arnold from US Digital. So, hi, John. Please tell us about yourself and what
Hi.
you do.
Hi, I'm an annoying person who finds blog posts and comment to people and they contact me and then we have these discussions. Now, I'm a senior software engineer, company's US Digital. I've been using GP since 2012 and next month is my 15th anniversary here at US Digital. So originally from Pittsburgh, now I live in Vancouver, Washington. And I'm an all-around geek, so that's
All
me.
right. Okay, so everyone, we're here to show you about the replicator. And if you remember, I have the previous video about macro, how to run macro using, how to run NSF using macro. So there's a better version of that. And I'm so excited that we have John to share with us on how to use it. So John, I know I'm a new user of Replicator, so I'm excited you're going to teach me how to use it.
Will do. Yeah, I created Replicator because I've taught many people how to do the mail merge macro and everyone was confused. I always made mistakes. So I went on a trip and my wife was thrilled because I spent the time creating this Excel macro based spreadsheet called Replicator. So let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we'll begin with your website. So your website is called?
It's arnolds.com. It's RNOLDZ.com. And I normally, when I specify, I do a capital R so it doesn't look like molds, but it is Arnold's. John Arnold. Arnold's a common name, so I had a hard time getting a domain name. So it's, again, arnolds.com. And at the top of it, you can click on the Replicator tab there. And that'll take you in and you can get all the files about Replicator.
Okay, right here, Replicator.
Yep.
Okay.
And down, I gave basically a reason why I created it. But if we go down, you can read that when you can't sleep. If you scroll down a little bit, we'll get to where you can download the files. So the Replicator Excel file, when that comes down, because of Microsoft, it will show up in your system and you have to right click on the downloaded file and unblock it.
Okay, so I download now?
Yeah, let's go download it.
Okay, it's downloading.
So we downloaded it before. That's why there's version 2 of it. So let's go ahead and show this in the folder. So if you click on the little up arrow there, you can say show in folder.
Okay.
Right next to the file. There you go. Show in folder.
Okay.
Right click on it and do properties.
Okay, properties.
On the bottom right, you can check unblock.
Unblock. Right. Okay. Okay.
We did this a couple minutes ago. We have a copy of the file in another location. I will warn you, Microsoft has been working on the security. If you copy this to a network folder, you may get security privileges and you have to go into the trust settings and it can be annoying. So start out on your local machine, play with, and we'll go from there. Okay,
so it's here, right here
in
the folder. Okay.
So before we get into Replicator, let's go ahead and open up Replicator. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, open now.
So I kind of took, we have to say enable content.
Okay.
That lets the macros run. And we can make this a trusted document. Hopefully you can trust me. You should be able to. No. Okay. So I took the features of mail merge and put everything, instead of having to be in Word for some stuff, Excel and other things, Notepad for everything else, I put it all into Excel. You do most of your stuff in Excel anyways. So a lot of stuff in here works with tables. If you're not familiar with Excel tables, I highly recommend learning about Excel tables. You can go to my website and you can download a PowerPoint from a summit presentation about Excel tables rock. But we're using tables are used in here. So the pieces we need, we have Replicator, and then we need to know what macro did you already record in GP. So we're going to use the macro that you created of the initial saving of one record in GP. And we need to import that here into the spreadsheet.
Okay.
And you see, I'm not doing everything. You're in control of everything.
That's right. So I'm gonna click on import macro, and then I will get my file. Let me just go get there. Okay. I didn't realize I have to go all this. So bear with me. Okay, there I go. Okay. Macro. Okay. This is my macro.
That's your macro file.
Right.
So this was the recording. Go ahead and explain what this recording was, please.
Okay, so this is my macro that I created to create a NSF. So, well, in GP, it's under sales, transaction posted documents, and then I start filling in the customer ID and then the NSF date, and then I hit NSF.
Okay. So that gave us the macro. Now we need to know, basically for this, we want to take this macro and repeat it once for every row of data you have. And I think you have another spreadsheet that has all of the data saying, these are the NSFs that we want to make happen. We need to update in the GP. Okay. So do me a favor, let's open up that spreadsheet.
Okay, so this is my spreadsheet. Okay, there you go. So I have void date, agent number is a customer number, and recent code payment number. Okay.
And this being Excel, it does a nice job of changing the void date to the numeric serial number. We'll fix that once we bring it over, but that's okay. Yeah. So Replicator likes to use tables. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to convert your data into a table.
John, make a date.
I was going to do that from the table.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. This is my date before, anyway.
Just click on any cell in your data.
Okay. Okay, it looks like
Control T says go insert a table for me.
Okay.
And Excel's pretty smart and it sees all your data. You want to, there's a little line there that says whether or not your table has headers. And it identified it properly, so we do have this table. And if we look up, since we have the tab on the very top called Table Design highlighted, all the way up at the top. Whoop.
Oops.
So click back into the table, please.
All right, there you go.
And then click on Table Design in the very top. I know we didn't do this in our test run.
Sorry, I lost.
In the menus. File, Home, Insert. The very last one is Table Design. All the way to the top of the screen. All the way to the right. There we go. Now on the top left, you can see Table 1.
Yes.
So this table is named Table 1. You can rename it and stuff like that, but for right now, Table 1 is perfect.
Okay.
So in this spreadsheet, Table 1 is where we want to get the data from.
Got it.
So we need to get this into Replicator. So let's go back to Replicator, please.
Okay.
And we want to, in column C, about before the table, we want to hit the Replace Data Table button.
Okay, right here.
Correct. You don't want to use copy and paste because copy and paste changes the names of the table and will completely break everything. So here you can see from the workbook 2023 annual, whatever, there's a table 1 that we looked at. So we want to hit Replace Table.
Okay.
And it brings it over and this is all your data. So now your other spreadsheet, we don't really need it anymore because all of the data is already in here.
Okay, I'm going to close that out.
Okay. So one of the things I know from experience that your date format of 1/20/2023, you can't type in a date in GP that way. It wants 01/20/2023. So we're going to make another column and call it GP date. Okay. And format it so that it's in a format that GP likes. Okay. And we're going to use the text function. So equals text. And then the value, we want to format the value date. So click on the same row. And you can see it comes across with a square bracket at, and then the column name. So it's going to repeat this for every row. And then we're going to do comma.
Okay.
And we're going to specify what the form is around a string. So it's this shift single quote.
Okay.
Or it's double quotes, yeah. And then the format is month, MM, DD, YYYY. So for month, 2 characters for month, 2 characters for date, 4 characters for the year. Close the quotes, close the parenthesis.
Okay. Enter.
So your example gets a little harder than normal because you have dates in it, but they're really easy to format at the GP.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the mail merge, the next step would be is mapping our data columns to the proper fields in the macro. Highlighting and editing was very tedious. So a while back I created, there's a map columns button that you can use in the top left.
Okay.
And this, so we see our macro and then over, it kind of gets truncated on your, with your resolution, but that's data columns. So it shows all the data columns from your table that we have in there. So we're basically going to say find next. And it looks for the type 2 field, which is where you want to replace. So instead of that 09, that is your customer number.
Mm-hmm.
And in your data, it's the agent number. So you just double click on it and it replaces it with the squiggly brace. Column name squiggly brace is what Replicator uses to put the data out there.
Okay.
And then just keep hitting find next, replacing the data with the appropriate column names.
All right.
And this is where you want to make sure you use the GP date because that's the one we formatted.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reason code and then the GP date again.
Okay.
And we can hit save.
Save.
So we have the macro on the left. We have all of our data on the right. And if you look on row 8, it can says this macro is going to be repeated 354 times. Column C, yeah.
Right here.
When you're first generating the macros, you typically don't want to generate all 354 rows at once. I like to do a small subset to start with. So you can do that really easily in Replicator. So let's go add a new column and call it filter.
Okay.
Okay. And then up on cell D3, you can drop that down. Oh, we didn't talk about header lines. We'll talk about that in a second. So if you click on D3.
D3.
Yeah, where it says filter column. Now drop that down.
Okay, there you go.
It'll show you that I want to use the filter column as my filter.
Okay.
And now we can see that the macro will be repeated 0 times out of 354.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Replicator is not going to include that data row unless filter has a value of true. You can do a formula, you can do whatever you want in there. So right now, let's just say equals false to force all of them to false so that none of them will be included. And let's change the top 2 to just true.
Okay.
And since you said equals false, it's a formula, so the table automatically copied it all the way down. Okay, so now we can see the macro will be repeated 2 times out of our 354 rows. So it's always good to run your macro on a couple records to make sure it's happy, because when the first record is saved and it transitions to the second record, that's normally where you'll have a problem. It may not be on the field you think it's on. You might have to add an additional move to field or something like that. So if we look at the macro, line 6 starts out with a pound sign. It's pound dexterity. That basically tells you what version of GP was this created with. Anything that starts with a pound sign is a comment. There's no reason to repeat this line for all the rows that we're going to make. So we're going to tell the system that that's a header row. It's only going to repeat it once. So up in D1, we're going to say we only have one header row. So put a 1 in there. Perfect. And now it makes it gold, telling you that it's a header row. So we're ready to go. We have our macro. We mapped all the fields to it. We have all of our data. Let's replicate it.
Okay. I hit replicate.
Yep. It's going to ask you, where do you want to save the file?
Okay. This is.
And this one I always name as like all or replicated or something like that. So you can tell the difference between the macro that was the one record that you created the macro with versus the one that's replicated.
Okay. All replicated files saved.
Perfect.
I have 2.
It created it for the 2 rows.
Okay. All right.
At this point, we would go into GP, run it and test it, but let's go look at it in Notepad.
Okay. Right here.
Yeah.
Edit, and it's right here. Yep, I have
So
2. Yeah, I have 2 records.
Yep, and you can see all the different fields that you mapped, they all came from your data table.
Mm-hmm.
So I would run this in GP to make sure it processed happily. Once that runs and is happy, we can come back into our data table.
Okay.
And now we're going to reverse all the trues and falses.
All right.
So you can make that be, just make that be false.
Right.
And make the next one be false.
Okay, then
And
this
then
one.
you can say equals true.
Can I click this? No.
It's easier to do equals true.
Uh-huh. Oh, there you
And
go.
then double click on the bottom right-hand corner of that equals true cell.
There you go. True.
Okay, and now we're seeing in the top of the table, the macro will be repeated 352 times.
Yes.
We can rerun replicate.
Replicate.
And we can actually, I'd overwrite the file we already did because we already processed the 2 in GP.
Yes.
And now it's done it for the remaining 352 rows.
Mm-hmm. Let's see the file. All right.
A little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have all the files right here. Okay. All right. So this is what we will run in Dynamics GP.
Correct.
Okay.
So I tried to make this easier than mail merge. Everything happens in Excel. We looked at it in Notepad just because we wanted to see it, but you don't really ever have to look at your macro in Notepad. It's all right here. So, any questions?
Oh, this is very good. I don't have to worry about my file, my single code, replacing, the file with my first 2 rows that I wanted to test. I just need to change this filter into false, regenerate the macro using this replicate.
Yep.
Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm now gonna stop sharing. Okay, so thank you so much, John. This is very helpful.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm sure the community will be able to use this. Again, go to that website and download the replicator, and you will find it very useful. Thank you. See you next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.